Hello and welcome everyone to this new video. Today I want to show you what I've finally done with this mini PC. So first of all, here's Proxmox, where I've installed three virtual machines, including Kali Teapot, which I've already tested and it works great, except there's a small issue with the logs because there are too many, but I'll show you that in another video, and then Palo Alto. Here I've set up the firewall. Now, how did I set up the firewall? I'll explain it to you. For those who use Pinet Lab, EVNG, or even GNS3, I think you have the Palo Alto image. Basically, all the firewall images. I took this image and converted it so it would work on this machine, and it works. Let's take a look. And here is the firewall. So first of all, here we have our monitor, which shows us that some lines are red because they're blocked. Well, red. Kind of pinkish. Orange. Orange, red, orange, red. There you go. So they're blocked because I'll show you later why they're blocked. Let's go back to Proxmox for a moment. Here's the machine. Oops, Kali. Here it is, and right now I'm using it directly from Proxmox. If I run a speed test, for example, you'll see that it doesn't show anything. See, download speed 0, upload 0, both of them. That's because if we look here, at a certain point, you'll see that everything is red. This happens because here in the policy, as you can see, I've called it Internet. In application, I specified which applications can access the internet, and these Kali ones for this test, for example, are not enabled, so it doesn't show them to me. If I want to enable them in this, here I have the app scene feature, and there are currently 23 applications that it has successfully detected. These applications now need to be carefully checked to ascertain if they are also present here on the left-hand side of the interface, and subsequently I will just proceed to add them into the system. For this particular test, I'm going to disable them completely, so I will navigate to Service, then set it to Any, click OK, and then commit the changes. At this precise point, it should be able to make everything function correctly and work as intended. While it's actively committing these changes, allow me to briefly show you something for a moment here on Palo Alto on this specific machine, since this is the demonstration version of the firewall software, so it operates without full licenses. The maximum allocated is 4 GB of RAM, 2 processors, so everything is very basic in its configuration, and the various settings are quite fundamental. Here I've meticulously set up all the necessary network cards that I require, and that's essentially it. It effectively works as expected. Very simple. Then I'll explain a few more details to you, and after that we'll move on to another test. All right, let's try here to see if it works now. On our Kali Linux machine, honestly, I'm not really expecting truly great results because it's still running inside the virtual machine, obviously with the inherent limitations imposed by my current mini PC setup. So I have a rather high ping of 45 milliseconds. Which is quite a lot, and the download speed is only 466 megabits per second, which is relatively low because it should ideally be around 800 to 900 megabits download and 100 megabits upload. As you can clearly see here, the upload speed is 586 megabits. I'm not expecting truly optimal or great results, precisely because the entire machine is running virtually inside Proxmox. So you might perhaps say, well then, Proxmox isn't good, it's inherently slow. No, absolutely not. That's not the case at all. The primary problem is that the VM's allocated resources aren't particularly great or sufficient. Anyway, let's continue. I can tell you that, look, you clearly see 771 megabits per second. We are definitely there. The upload speed has increased a little bit, about 7.5 megabits per second, so we are more or less precisely where we should be. Then, of course, I can easily go on the internet if I want to. If I navigate to YouTube, it promptly opens YouTube for me, and here it is right before your eyes. So let's take another comprehensive look, always from the perspective of the firewall, to ensure everything is functioning correctly. Here, you can clearly see now it genuinely lets all my requests through without any issues. In this particular case, the DNS configuration is perfectly fine. That's quite obvious. But importantly, it doesn't all show up in alarming red like it did before. Then if I want to switch back to using applications instead of meticulously specifying everything myself, I simply come back here to this interface and easily select Application Default and then press the button to confirm. Okay, and I commit them. Commit. Now that's it for the firewall. Clearly, this is the dashboard. On the channel, you'll find dozens and dozens of videos about Palo Alto, so I won't go into too much detail here. But let me show you one thing. For those who are interested, and I highly recommend it, because what you see here, even if it's on a much smaller scale, are the exact same configurations you'll find in large enterprise companies or wherever you want. So if you want to gain experience, since a lot of people in the group, sometimes students, write saying, oh yes, but everyone is looking for people with experience. Well, this is the experience you can get at home. And then, of course, you can apply it at work. Now, let me show you for a moment what I've done here. The interfaces. I have a physical interface, which, as you can see here in the comments, I've labeled as Proxmox Net 1. Because if I go here to my hardware machine, here it is. This is interface 1.1 of the Palo Alto firewall. Whereas the 0, so net 0, as you can see, tagged in VLAN 900 is the management one, which is precisely this one where I have access to the firewall. Now, going back to this topic, I'll dwell on it a bit more because it's important. Here I've configured 3 sub-interfaces. One is network 10, as you can see labeled Kali, which is actually inside 20, but let's leave that aside for now. Then one labeled laptop, because I connected my laptop, and one internet, because this is the one that gets the IP address from my provider, which in this case is the internal IP address. Now, I tried connecting my computer directly to the switch, so all the traffic goes through the Palo Alto. I tried it and it works perfectly. What's the problem? The problem is that we have double NAT, obviously. My physical network, the provider's network, let's call it that, is 0. Something like that. Here I have the 10 and 20 networks, and to access the internet, I need NAT, as we know. A friend in the Telegram group said, Valerio, why don't you use routing directly with your provider's router? That's a great solution, except that my provider's router doesn't let me manually enter static routes. Anyone studying for the CCNA should understand what I'm talking about. So what did I do? I set the port of my provider's router to bridge mode, so I received the public IP address directly on this interface, which right now is a private one, but still on this interface. I tried running some tests, and guys, believe it or not, the results are clear. It performs better if I connect it to the Palo Alto than if I connect it directly to the router. It's faster now. I have a 1.2 gigabyte line, so you'll never actually reach 1.2 gigabytes because the port is 1 gigabyte. But still, last time I tested it, it was at 900 megabits, and usually it doesn't go over 800 megabits. So I ran the test 3 times, and 3 times it showed me 900, 950, so I thought, well, that's good, excellent. And so this is precisely the setup that I personally utilized for the compact mini PC and the robust Palo Alto firewall. I also made an attempt with the Sophos firewall, but I am genuinely not accustomed to the process of configuring it, so I unfortunately got a little bit lost, subsequently spent far too much valuable time on it, and then ultimately gave up on that particular endeavor. I also tried several other firewalls too, such as OpenSense, for example, but I don't like it. No, I just don't like it. So, as I said before, I took the Palo Alto image that you can download from Pinet Lab and put it here. And it works, even without licenses. Licenses are needed for other things like updates and so on, but for everything else, it all works. So let's say, I can say that even though the machine has 12 gigabytes of RAM, as I explained in the previous video, the technical specifications, if you want, please feel free to leave me a comment and ask me any questions you might have, and I'll gladly share them with you again. Let's just say it works quite well. I also tried out Teapot, which is specifically for hacker attacks, in short, to see who is attacking you and what kind of attack they're doing, and it works perfectly with the port in mirroring mode and so on, as I explained in the other video. Now, if you want to see precisely how I meticulously configured the network switch, how I carefully connected absolutely everything to make it function perfectly, and how I thoroughly set up the firewall in much more intricate detail. For example, just look, I will show you right here on the screen. We navigate to the network settings, and then let's proceed to the DHCP section. As you can clearly see, I have the DHCP service comprehensively set up on network 10, and also on network 20. I believe that Kali Linux is currently residing on, here it is, Kali, and this is the specific IP address that Kali currently possesses, which is 20.11. 20.10 was previously assigned to my personal computer, which at this very moment is unfortunately not connected. It's not connected for some particular reason. For production reasons, meaning that the camera itself connects, and the images and video footage I meticulously record here on YouTube connect seamlessly via Wi-Fi to my personal computer system. And since there's another network, but it needs to be on the same network, in this case 20.10, my phone is on Wi-Fi and the network is 0 something, and they don't communicate. But here I have 2 access points that a dear friend gave me to run some tests. So of course I can also connect them to the switch, because the switch is PoE. If you have any comments, please leave them and I'll reply. If you're not part of the Telegram group, feel free to join. You're welcome. One very important thing, if you want to understand how to configure it, thank you. In this case, the VLANs and this virtual environment, because it's virtual when, for example, you connect the Kali machine and also Windows or any other machine inside Proxmox, so you use VLANs, tagging, and so on. Let me know in the comments. If, on the other hand, you're interested, even though I'm not an expert in Proxmox because I've always used ESXi, but I have to say it works pretty well. However, as far as Proxmox is concerned, for network cards, hardware, and so on, feel free to leave a message and I'll be more than happy to reply. That said, guys, I'll say goodbye and see you in the next video. And if you're not subscribed to the channel, obviously subscribe to the channel. It's always a great help. Thank you. See you next time.